What is going on, Panthers Nation? Carolina Dad here, your host of the Two Growls One Roar podcast. You are tuned in to the show. Let's get going, folks. Hey, today is a big day for the show. I guess technically Friday was a big day for the show as we officially surpassed 1,000 subscribers. I want to say thank you to every single person that's tuning in. We are also closing in on 200 followers on podcast platforms, primarily Apple and Spotify. What that means is that folks around the world are going out to Apple and Spotify and following or subscribing to the show on those platforms. We're just over 100 on Apple. Spotify is about 95. So I just want to say appreciate that because, folks, it's just the beginning. I hope to continue to bring on more Panthers-related content creators, more writers, other folks closer to the team. And boy, I got a good episode for y'all coming later this week with, and I'm not going to give it away. You're just going to have to wait to see who's coming on the show. I'm working on the edits now. But let's jump right in. We are here today to talk a little bit about training camp and some Panthers news. Now, for me personally, I'm not a big, like when I think about Panthers and I think about where I sit in the realm of creating content and reporting and giving you my thoughts on things, a lot of it's X's and O's, transactions, what's happening on the field. I don't really like get into the off the field stuff, but with training camp right around the corner, it's a dead part of the year, and I think there's a few Panthers storylines that came through this week, and so sure, why not? I'm going to throw them in the show, and we can talk about them. Some of those headlines include Bryce Young and Cam Newton talking at the ESPYs. I'm going to play part of that clip so you can get to hear their interaction if you haven't had a chance to do so. Bryce Young, we also got to see Bryce Young giving an introductory speech for Nick Saban, who won an award at the ESPYs. Now, I'm not going to play that, so you can go back and watch that at your own leisure. We've got the Christian McCaffrey wedding. I'm not going to call it beef, but we know about the Greg Olsen photo that popped out. We now get this interaction between Cam Newton and CMC as far as why Cam did not get the invite or what might have happened. Then we're going to get back into the Panthers. Then we're going to talk about training camp, get you locked in there. Latest updates, some practices are sold out, so you better get your tickets if you do plan to attend. A lot of the weekend dates are taken up, but we'll look at that. We've got a Dave Canales interview with Fox Tampa, so the Tampa Bay Fox Sports Network down there. Decent, good interview. I shouldn't say decent interview, good interview. I'm just going to play a snippet of that, hear a little bit what he's thinking about Bryce. And hey, yeah, speaking of Cam Newton and the 4th and 1 show, shout out to them. I reached out to them because I'll play it here in a second, but I don't know how many people recognize the Cam Newton meme where he is on the New England Patriots and then he just slumps down like this as he's talking to a receiver. I had to get insight into that because I personally had never heard the story about why he did that. So I tweeted out to the 4th and 1 show. They retweeted me, provided a snippet of what happened. So maybe we'll play that. And hey, 53-man roster projections. Got those coming right around the corner, but I want to give you a little bit of a teaser of what that's going to look like. If you're following me on social media, I'm starting to put out these clips of quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers. Got the whole group, whole entire roster put together. I'm going to go back and do a very fast 90-man breakdown in one episode. For those that maybe didn't want to sit through each of the segments because it's probably 3 or 4 hours, I'm going to try to condense it into one sitting, all 90 players. Maybe we can get that in 45 minutes if I don't ramble too much. So you have all that cooking up. I have guests lined up, still bringing them on the show, working through a bunch of names. The guests will continue. The solo episodes will continue. And hey, you're here, and I appreciate y'all, and I hope that you continue to tune in and listen. It really does mean a lot to help this show continue to grow. Let's get started. So we're going to start with Cam and Bryce at the ESPYs. And I'm going to see if I can pull up this clip. I'm going to see if I can pull up this. So we're going to start with Cam and Bryce at the ESPYs. Let's run the clip.
Now, this is the thing that I do know. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people here, but this conversation is a little different. I know what you're going through. I've been where you are. The frustration and even yearning for the success, right? The city of Charlotte, the Carolinas as a whole, when they see you, what is something that you want them to know from the horse's mouth?
I just want them to know that I'm giving my all. We as a team, as an organization, we're giving our all.
Yes.
Again, I get it, being a sports fan, being whatever it is. I appreciate how passionate of a city of the states that the Carolinas are. I'm grateful for that. I love being a part of that. We don't want anything worse than one to win. We all want to we're doing whatever it takes. We're putting the work, and we're going to continue to do that. So we appreciate the passion. We love it. And I just want everyone in the Carolinas to know we're going to give our all to get where we need to be.
Absolutely. Everything great takes time. Rome was not built in one day. My man, my player, my partner, young killer in charge, Bryce.
There you go, folks. Really cool. So I don't know how many people saw that. Very short. I personally hope we can get a lot more of this happening now. Bring Bryce onto the show, on the Cam show, the 4th and 1 show. Get Cam filtered back into the Carolinas, into the culture of the Carolina Panthers, and hey, let's start to actually build. As a young team that's been around 30 years, you look out at they're doing the Mount Rushmore of players now on the NFL Network, and there's some really big names out there: Cam Newton, Luke Kuechly, Steve Smith, Julius Peppers. That's a very stout list of players to only be an organization that's been around for 30 years. But to continue to build on that and to have, your kids and your grandkids or even further out, buy into this team, you got to have things like this happening. At least I believe so. So I don't know how you can get Cam back in here, riving up the culture. Of course, he's not going to be coaching or anything like that or in the front office, but just bring it back, man. I think that alone would do wonders. We saw what happened when he actually came back. Now we'll pivot. And again, I'm not a big fan of talking through some of these, but at this point in the year, I said, why not? I'll join the train and we can talk through. Let's see if we can pull up the tweets here. So shout out to Bussin' and the Boys, the 4th and 1 show. They are the ones that pulled all this together. I think this was a conversation from Instagram. Number one, Greg Olson, having the time of his life, as it seems, you can see here. And we got to actually hear him on the Mac and Bone show during JJ Jansen's clip, or normal weekly segment last week, saying that, hey, everybody needs that type of person, or you got to have at least one of those people, and that's Greg at your wedding, and he's the one. So there's exchange happens where there's this response to the 4th and 1 show that says the invite must have got lost in the mail because Cam Newton was there. We know Cam didn't attend. They were all close. I know it was only a few years there with Christian McCaffrey and Cam Newton, but crossing over, we start talking about team and culture and history. Those are two pretty big names that are right there. So he goes out and Christian responds, and it sounds like there was a misunderstanding where Cam updated his phone number, but never actually told Christian McCaffrey. So I kind of put that on Cam. You can't expect people to go and, just find your number or be able to contact you if you're not giving them the new number to reach out to. So I brought that up because it's something that's circling around. Again, I don't really like to get into these topics and conversations, but I said, you know what? It's been talked about a lot this week, and I've seen other people talk about it. So I'll bring it into my segment, give you a little taste of where I sit. Staying in the realm of news that's not news, we're going to talk about it because that's where we are at this point in the offseason. We have Starcade Media, who was talking to Adam Thielen at a golf event and, asking Adam about playing in Kansas City. And Adam goes out and says that he wanted to go there last year, but they didn't want them, which helps ignite him into wanting to play better or play really good against them this year. Let's hear this clip.
Hey, you got the Chiefs this year in Carolina. You haven't seen the schedule yet? You got?
Oh yeah, I know.
Are you? How excited are you to show that team what a real receiving core looks like?
Well, I was trying to go there and they didn't want me, so I'll have to try to show them what I got.
I wanted you so bad.
I know, yeah.
Is it
no,
too
it's
late?
all it's all good.
How you playing today, man?
Good, yeah.
That's pretty much it. I know it's so short. He wanted to go there. You can hear he wanted to go there. And I feel like Adam Thielen has had 1 foot in, 1 foot out his entire time here. A lot of this, or part of it, he did do to himself coming in and, talking about Super Bowl. Was that really, just all talk? Was he honestly thinking that what was coming in on paper would be good enough to win a Super Bowl? I can't tell you. I have no idea. But it does seem like, and you go back to some of the interviews at the end of the year where, this wasn't what he signed up for. This isn't what he thought it was going to be. A lot of people, I'm not one of those people, but a lot of people have thought like, hey, is he ever going to be traded? We thought it happened last year on the trade block in the off season. I don't think it makes sense. Where I will pivot a little bit is if there's a situation where, depending on the Panthers' success, if you have Jonathan Mingo, who I think is going to be Adam Thielen's likely replacement, at least right now, or Amir Smith-Marset, sitting in the wing of the slot position that are showing a lot of promise, and maybe Adam's showing a little bit of dip, and then there's a contender. Hopefully the Panthers are a contender, but there's a contender out there that does want him. He does get scooped up. But again, at this point, 34 years old, last year of his contract, I don't really know what you're going to get in exchange, a seventh, a sixth, maybe conditional. It's not going to be a lot in exchange for him. So I do think it makes sense to have him remain here in Carolina, but it's not another one of those stories where you just like scratch your head. Like, okay, some people just, he feels the way he feels. Making our way through the list now, we come up on someone that really hasn't been talked about a lot this offseason. That's Clavon Chasen. He said, I have what it takes to be a great player. So after finishing the season with the fewest sacks in the NFL, which we know the Panthers let go a few folks. I've talked about that extensively on this show. They did bring in really this tryout in Clavon Chasen. I know he's here on a one-year contract, but it's really a tryout, a young player, former first-round pick that's looking to rebound. And KPRC2 out of Houston talked to him, about the fresh start, when that's going to be in Carolina, and this was his response. And what they're getting in him, they're getting a complete player. They're getting a winner, Chasen said. That's the most important thing, is the W column. I got used to winning in high school and college. It's a mindset and acknowledgement of the grind it takes to reach a certain level and make a certain impact. It's about competition. They're getting someone who is truly loyal and respects the game, a true rarity. All in all, they're getting a complete player, a complete person, and human that comes with it. I feel like I have every tool it takes to be a great player. And I think for the sake of the Carolina Panthers, we're going to need him to be, because the defensive end, edge, the pressures, the sacks, we lost a lot. We don't have a lot returning. There's a lot of question marks about DJ Wonnum's health, Barno's health, and then not really anyone else behind him. You have Clowney, but understanding that Clowney is going to be more of a run stopper in this, and I don't think he's going to have the same production that he did in Baltimore. We're going to have to see some other folks step up, and he's one of those that's on the bubble that we're going to need to see take the next step. Now, before we get too far in the weeds, I want to take a look at this clip. Again, this is the meme I was referencing, which they'll play here at the top. If you've not heard this, you'll get an understanding of why Cam Newton reacted the way he did, and we'll pull it up right here.
What was being said to you in this meme?
Bro, me and Nikhil was on the sideline talking about basketball.
Mhm.
Nikhil was saying in high school he averaged 40 points. It was something ridiculous.
That made me want to.
That's what I said, bro.
That's a lot.
Then I said, Nikhil.
In mid-game,
Bro,
meanwhile.
first off, he's foreign. So he's like Haitian or Trinidadian. He moved over here and went to Arizona.
Yep.
So I'm like, bro, none of your bloodline is telling me that you're a hooper. Not to say that people don't hoop.
Oh my God. If you want to go out and listen to the full clip, it's an explanation. But I do appreciate the 4th and 1 show, because I had not seen that. I try to stay up to date on all the podcasts as much as I can and watch those clips. I just haven't had a chance to catch up on that one, but that was hilarious. So appreciate them, sending that over for me. Before we jump into training camp talk and get you updated there, we do have some football related news. So this is Dave Canales on Fox 13 Tampa with the No Off Days podcast, hosted by Scott Smith, or with Scott Smith, talking about Bryce Young. And so I thought we'd play a little bit, a little snippet of this. You can go out and watch the full thing, but at least hearing what Dave Canales had to say as he, goes on this outlet here.
To see things before they develop. What have you seen out of him already, and how do you anticipate helping him unlock what we all know his potential to be?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for the vote of confidence, for me coming in here, and really is a huge reason why I was hired to be the head coach and to have that influence on Bryce. Is to help him really maximize who he is, and what I've seen from him in a short amount of time is he's very accurate. So whenever I know it can be taken for granted at times, but when we're throwing routes on air, he places the ball in great spots for guys to continue to run after they catch it. And um, you might think, okay, well, he's an NFL quarterback, he should be accurate. Well, there's degrees of accuracy, and so to be able to see that firsthand gives me confidence. Is well, if he can throw accurately, then I can teach him the rest. Let's get his footwork right. Let's sync that up with our concepts, and let's start making sure that we're going through our progressions the right way. And so that's where we're doing a lot of our work. But the cool part is he's got some carryover from Alabama. He saw a pro style type of system while he was there with some of the different coordinators that they've had. And I really feel like he's going to be able to just build even on last year. Just watching the film from last year, it's some good stuff. It's a good system that they're running, and hopefully, we can continue to build on some of the things, the lessons he's learned. But he comes into it, I get the guy for the first time with 16 games under his belt. And, I just feel great about having that opportunity for him to actually see the different defenses, blitzes, coverages, pass rush, the things that the NFL will come at you with. And hopefully we can, get somewhere quicker because of that experience.
All right, let's take a quick break.
Really good insight right there. And hey, if you want to go out, you can watch the additional, really good insight there. If you want to go out, you can watch the rest of this. That was really the end of what I had to share. But I think it is good insight when I think about this team heading into this year and Bryce Young. We know how terrible it was during the season. We also know how bad it looked in the preseason. So for me, I'm really anxious to see him in preseason. I don't know how much he's going to play because it's year 2. He doesn't need as many reps, but I would like to see a competent offense around them that shows us, hey, maybe this team can score 2 or 3 touchdowns a game. We can move the ball down the field and pass, be effective, be effective with the passing game, even though I know we're going to rely heavily on the run. All right, folks, let's pivot and talk about training camp. We're going to close out this episode talking through training camp. One thing to highlight, it is the 30th season for the Carolina Panthers. You can go out to panthers.com/training camp to get all the information you need. I guess I've got a little over a week before the first practice, not over a week, but more than 10-ish days or roughly 10 days. I'll do a training camp preview, at least what I know so far. We can review the FAQs, get you familiar. It's going to be new for everyone because it's not in Wofford, so I can't tell you how it happened last year. I am rocking the training camp shirt that we got free at it was at Back Together Saturday at Wofford. I was Back Together Fan Fest, blend those together. Let's talk about it. You can see here the date of the practices, 15 total practices. The 3rd and 4th, 10th, 11th, and 15th are sold out. So the 2 weekends, which are the 3rd and the 4th, the 10th and 11th, sold out. 15th with the joint practice with the Jets is also sold out as well. Back Together Saturday at Bank of America Stadium. I think that's the other lone practice on the weekend. Looking at the schedule here, yes, that is. So that's the only other. That one, of course, the capacity is 70,000 ish. So I don't think there's going to be any issue with getting tickets if you want to go to that. The Fan Fest at Clemson, same thing. Again, I think you'll be pretty easily, or you'll easily be able to get tickets to that. I don't know what they see, 90,000 in Death Valley, whatever that is. Speaking of events and dates that we're planning to go, so right now we secured tickets for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. It's going to be crazy crowded from what I can already tell here, even though it's going to be 2,000, which is a limited group. So maybe it's not as much as I thought. I know they're doing the construction work to get temporary seating in place. Should be covered. I'm guessing you'll still be able to move around, like you don't actually have to stay there. But that'll be the 3rd and the 4th, which is Saturday and Sunday that we plan to make it up, 10, 9:30, and then August 5th, 9:30 as well. So one thing I will say, just from watching local news in Charlotte, some clips on YouTube, think about parking. Get there as early as you can, especially if you're going on the weekend, because it's going to be like game day parking. So I'm assuming there's going to be fees, people charging. I know there's parking decks, depending on how far you want to walk and park. Parking's not going to be easy like at Wofford where it's free. That's a downside. I'm guessing they're going to have some of the similar setup that they did with the team store, probably, a few food truck vendors, as long as they got their permits in place around that area. But I think parking's going to be crowded. We're going to be driving up from Spartanburg because that's where we're staying. Probably going to leave pretty early, try to get there as early as possible so that we can get access. Now, I think practice usually opens. This is where I'll have to actually go through the FAQs, which I don't know if they've got. Those are just tickets. I don't care about tickets right now. I will say it's very easy. You have to have a Ticketmaster account. If you're going to a weekly practice, or I should say a practice that's not in Bank of America or Death Valley, you get up to 4 tickets. It's all free with the exception of Death Valley. But again, I'm talking about the during the week tickets. Oh, you can reserve parking. So as I talk about parking, there you go. It looks like, so we did have questions about the VIP experience at training camp. I guessed it was going to be PSL owners. That's exactly what it is. Buy PSLs and season tickets and get the experience. And I guess provide additional information here. Really nice video that they did. Clemson. This is the map that we talked about. I don't really see anything. Oh, here we go. Where's the entrance? We already know the entrance. Talked about that. Do the FAQs in depth. What I was looking for. Oh, here we go. When will the gate open? Training camp gates will open 1 hour prior to the start of practice and close 30 minutes after practice. So 1 hour before is when we go. Seating is provided. Covered seating, again, first come, first serve. Usually let you bring in they did last year. What items are not prohibited? What if it rains? First day, they usually give out the camp roster when you're there, or you can follow me and get the 90-man roster breakdown. And autograph opportunities will be available. They'll have designated areas. Hopefully they keep the fan or the kids section in place. But that'll do it, folks. So if you have not secured your seats, I recommend going out and getting your seats, locking them up. Seats, tickets, it's not seats, whatever. Anyways, folks, hey, I truly appreciate everyone's tuning into this show. We're going to keep growing and keep pounding. Y'all have a good one.